All right, we're coming to you live from the basement studio. I'm here with my boy Angel and Chris. We are starting up this podcast just for you, another Cops Mentality, established in 2024 to bring awareness of mental health and physical health, emotional, spiritual, a little bit of everything. So, in the upcoming weeks, we're going to be bringing in guests from all walks of life, a little bit about us, former military, active police, husbands, fathers, a little bit of everything. So I'm going to pass it over to my boy Angel, and he could just introduce himself, and we'll just go from there. Angel, take it from here.
Yeah, so as Matias was just saying, we have similar backgrounds. Still serving in the military, Air Force First Sergeant, Security Forces, and active in the police department as well. Again, father, uh, son, brother, friend. We just want to bring awareness. You don't necessarily have to have a first responder. We just want to bring awareness and talk, have different conversations, whatever that might be in your case, struggles, triumphs, endeavors. We just want to know it all. We want to encompass all. But we want to do focus a lot on mental health and bring more awareness. Have people from similar backgrounds, obviously, talk about it more often. I don't think it's still a stigma behind the mental health field. So we just want to make sure that it opens up, um, just people sharing stories, having a conversation from guys to guys, from guys to girls, girls to girls. We want to know your struggles. We want to know what you've been through. We want to share our stories as well with the public. And that is me in a nutshell. I'll pass it over to Chris.
Wow, we're getting deep here, guys. We're using words like encompass.
I think that's one of the biggest keys is what Angel and Matt said though is that none of this is really common for men in general, right? To talk about is having these issues is sitting there wondering, am I the only person that feels this way, thinks this way? Is my job, do I see enough where I should feel this way, where I should feel these traumas, where I should feel these, whether it's thoughts or having these issues or feeling down or separated or whatever else. And I think the three of us, we've been talking about doing this for how long now? Well over a year.
Yeah.
It's definitely been a while.
And I think that's the thing, right? Is the three of us are lucky enough where obviously we all went to academy together, but we've been able to confide in each other with a lot of just separate issues, from being on the job to being fathers to the everyday, my water heater broke or I need to change the filter in my whatever you have over there, Bland, the water thing you got there. Just trying to, everyday
The
life.
water
And
filtration system. Yeah, yeah,
I think that's what a lot of people feel as
yeah.
well, is this doesn't necessarily just, a lot of this is, yes, directed towards military, law enforcement, first responders. This is for everyday walk of life people.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you just hit it right on the head. I think a lot of people have the misconception that only law enforcement or military veterans are the only ones going through this. But I think that, I've come to the realization that maybe we're a little bit more stressed than your average Joe just because, the stress level in the first responder world and military, it just kind of never stops. Whether you're deployed, whether you're at home, whether you're, going to work in the morning, in the evening, or at night. I think it just never really stops. People need help in these professions. But at the same time, I've run into so many people, including family members, who've been dealing with anxiety, depression, addiction, all these different words that we kind of shake at. I've honestly had the worst anxiety this year over so many different topics upcoming in our country and health and secondary trauma from other people going through stuff. And you sit down and think and you're like, wow, am I the only, like you said, am I the only one going through this? And I've seen a lot of people starting to take steps in the right direction, but it took people like Joe Rogan to start up a podcast and make it a cool thing to hear people. I used to be that guy. Oh, not another podcast.
Not another cops mentality.
Not another mentality podcast. I put it on Instagram. Who would like to hear a podcast? No, do not start a podcast. So here's to all you fuckers that didn't want to hear another podcast. You don't have to listen. But that's the cool thing is that instead of listening to music, I've realized that music really is medicine. But at times when you're going through the struggle, when you're going through some of those seasons and change of life, every single word and every single song touches you in a different way. And I don't want to, sit here and only listen to music that's kind of like, brought into everybody. I want to hear a podcast. I want to hear people talking, about the walk. They walk the walk. They've been through it. They kind of have an opportunity to talk about some of these topics. And I think that's that's what's going to be cool about this podcast, that it's not just going to be cops. I want to bring nurses. I want to bring doctors. I want to bring moms, dads, cousins, family members of those who are struggling. I think that's kind of like the goal. And that's what I love, hearing from other people's podcasts, is that it's not just the same people all the time. I mean, I could run this podcast and I have like 5 people right now that would blow your mind with their stories, and I'm just sick and tired of the bullshit. I want to hear your struggles, man. I don't want to hear this like, "Oh, my life is perfect and everything's perfect and everything's great. My marriage is great, my job." No, those are the people who, are putting on this facade, right? Is that the word, facade? They're putting on
Yeah.
a front, saying everything's perfect, and that's when people like me start going, holy shit, I'm in trouble. No, we're all in trouble. If we don't reach out for help, if we don't have people in our corner, if we don't have people backing us up, then you know what? I mean, we're just as good as nothing.
And again, we want to talk about everything. We want to talk about everyday struggle, whether it's nutrition, whether it's mental health. We're not here to compete with any
Oh,
other
nutrition, that's
podcast.
a
We're
good one.
here to, collaborate, if anything. Definitely not here to compete. We just want to know, your day to day, what affects you, what doesn't affect you. Are you happy? Why are you not happy? Why are you down? What's on your mind? What vacation spot do you want to go next? Like we just want to have a conversation. And again, it's not necessarily geared just towards law enforcement. This is geared towards everyone, everyday people. It just so happens that we are law enforcement, that we are military, that we are fathers, we have a lot in common, but that it doesn't necessarily have to be that. We want to hear everything for everyday common person. I consider myself a common person.
Typical.
There's nothing special, there's nothing special about
Typical.
me.
As I'm typing in our bio from our Instagram, I'm typing in
Are they
just
as my
three
wife
typical guys trying to spread stories.
They're right there.
Just 3 typical guys trying to spread
Just trying to
stories
share
of
share
everyday
stories.
life.
Yeah, everyday life. And again, it doesn't have to be just us. We want to hear
Oh
everybody.
man, we got our first visitor on the podcast. We love you, Jen. Talk about the spouses.
Well, I think you kind of both of you hit the nail on the head about being an everyday person and wanting to hear other people's stories. I think something that we all fail at is not just having honest conversations, but just kind of doing this. How many people sit down with their boys or family or friends, whatever else, just have open, whether it's fun or hard discussions?
I'd like to think that a lot of people do it. I think a lot of guys do get together and talk, but this is the awesome part about, getting onto a podcast to make it, reach a little further. I mean, we got to start taking advantage of the possibilities, right? I mean, we're so close-minded in everything we do every day. We start thinking about our small little worlds, but this podcast could reach somebody, somewhere in the middle of freaking the country, Midwest, California, Ohio, like
West Bubble Fuck.
the random places. Hey, we've been there. We've been there. I mean, where'd you go? I went to Fort Pickett, Virginia. Like
Arkansas.
you might
What
find
the
people.
fuck?
You might find somebody who needs those resources, and it's free as a podcast.
And like you said, I want to touch on what you said, how maybe a lot of people do uh maybe get together and speak about their struggles. I just feel like there's not enough people talking about it. So
Right.
yeah, there's groups of people like us. We talk about it amongst us, but I think us sharing stories and having other people share their stories is going to open up people's minds. It's going to open up people's eyes. Like, hey, listen, I'm not the only one that's going through this. I don't have to be alone. I don't have to feel alone. Like, there's other people going through what I'm going through, probably going through worse things.
You just
And
hit
you
it.
got to look. You got to find the silver lining. You got to see the blessings, right? Like we could complain all day long, but we are blessed beyond measures. So,
Absolutely. And
um,
that's one of the greatest parts about that we have today. What, 30 minutes ago, we officially set up the Another Cops Mentality Instagram and our own email address. So just like you said, having people be able to reach out You can have we don't have to put anybody's information out there, but being able to have, hey, I'm having this issue, I ran into this, we can be your voice. We can be your voice to
Send
talk
us
to
an
each
email.
other with whatever you're dealing with, just to, hey, you're not alone. Because guaranteed, whether it's not the three of us, somebody within our profession, somebody within our lives, as a cop, as a dad, as a father, as a mother, as law enforcement, as a veteran, as Mary Sue, who was serving dishes at the diner today, has had that issue.
Yeah.
And I think, knowing that you're not, because how many people, and we've all been to the worst of calls, and it's not a cop, it's just
Yeah.
somebody that's
Everyday people, like we were
like
saying,
real.
send us an email with your stories. If you want your name redacted, redact your name. If you want to remain anonymous, remain anonymous. However you want to do it, we want to hear your stories. We want to share it with the world. We want people to understand that they're not alone. We want people to know that this is everyday people just struggling and just trying to get through life. And if we have a group of people doing it, and talking about it and bringing awareness, I think people will feel better about sharing the story. So yeah, send us emails, send us a DM on Instagram, send us a freaking voicemail, send us a text message, however it is that you want to communicate with us. We want to reach out to as many people as possible, but we also want to hear your stories. We want to share it on this podcast. This podcast is not for us; it's for you guys, and we want to just get to hear what you're going through, what struggles you're going through, what makes you happy, what makes you tick, like what grinds your gears. We want to hear it. We want to share it. We want to talk to you. So yeah, send us emails, texts, DMs. And again, this is the beginning of something big. I would like to think that we are starting something that is for the community, is for everyone, not just for us. We're just a group of guys that are friends and just happen to have similar professions. But again, it doesn't have to be a law enforcement. It doesn't have to be first responder. It could be a nurse. It could be a teacher. It could be a janitor at a school. You could be a student. Whatever it is, whoever you are, we want to hear it. So please
So
send us email
that
so we can
that
share
whole
your
thing,
stories.
this is the first time I think I get to finally say something that you talked about, like I can't say live, but just on a platform. That statement right there, that whole "you are not alone." I really just want to touch on that. Every single time we bring up like police suicide or military suicide or this and that, and people are like, "Hey, you're not alone, brother." Like, I don't think that people realize it's not, you're not physically alone.
Like it's not just a statement.
It's not just a statement. It's like, hey, I've been there, done that. So
Correct.
I'd like to kind of change that saying, "You're not alone." Yeah, no shit. I mean, if they're sitting in their basement and they're by themselves, of course they're alone. But the analogy is more like, hey, you're not alone as meaning like I've been through that. But the problem is that since nobody talks about it, or I would like to, give credit where credit's due. I think people are starting, to talk about it. And even law enforcement agencies are getting better at, kind of giving that support to their officers and the military, from what I hear. That "you are not alone" needs to be, hey, I've been there, I got your back. I'll listen, I'll explain, I'll, let you know what I've been through. Because that's kind of social media's fault right there. Instead of us using social media to show a little bit about everything, of course nobody's going to be like, I had the worst day of my life today. I think a lot of times people are just going to post the best moments in your life, in your relationships, and I think all in all, when people start to open up about their stories, and they'll see that, hey, you're not the only one dealing with that that anxiety, that loss, that grieving process, because not to mention everybody kind of grieves uh, a little bit differently, and then on top of that, we got to start talking about good coping mechanisms, because I think this is something I'm really learning today. I've had a couple of good conversations with a few of my friends who unfortunately have gone down the path of drugs and alcohol, and now they're recovered, and I can guarantee you I'm going to bring them on this podcast, and they'll tell you, it was, the intrusive thoughts and the anxiety and the loss of life and my divorce and this and that and the other. They would tell you that's the reason why they started to do drugs or started to do alcohol. And for me, it's like I started to get really into The
You
whole
started to the drugs.
no, the neuro.
Tell-
And
talk
I started.
about it.
I started. You know,
Talk about
hey,
it.
trust me, I can be honest. I don't know anything about drugs. You know, but I will tell you this: I got into the whole neuro world and the whole biology and the reasoning everything of the mind, and it really is designed for two things. It's designed for what is it? What are the two things that the brain is designed?
No, no, you tell me. I'm not,
Yeah,
I'm not a scientist.
So,
through this.
well, I'm no
I'm
scientist.
no scientist.
I can tell you this.
We need to
Go-
throw out
Yeah,
points.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like,
By the way, yeah, exactly. Actually, I appreciate you saying that. Yes, we are not experts. We're just everyday live people. Yeah, but
I can tell you, if anything, I'll give you the disclaimer. We're three fucking idiots that just want to sit down and have conversation. We know nothing about anything.
best disclaimer I've ever heard in my life.
We are not experts by any freaking means. So do
Wait till I
not
get to see footage of the podcast. Oh my
not-
God.
do not take us as experts of anything. We're just three idiots that just want to sit down, have a conversation, talk about again struggles, talk about happiness. We want to talk about everything. We want to talk about religions. We want to talk about
We're gonna
politics.
talk about the two parts of
whatever.
the brain.
The two parts of the brain. Go
Hey,
for
man,
it.
survival and eating, right? The brain is designed to either fight or flight, right?
I
We're
like
looking
to
for
eat.
food. We're trying to remember where the food is, and then we're looking to get away from that saber-toothed tiger. If you look at the history of that caveman mentality, right? You're looking for food, and when you don't have the access to food, you got to go out there. The brain will release all these different chemicals. We'll say, hey, this is where the food was. You go grab the food, and you just kind of go about that, that whole world that we've evolved from, that caveman mentality. So our brains are still trying to, figure out what the hell we're doing in 2024 when all we used to do is, hey, our bodies were designed to freaking get food and survive. And now you go out there and what are anxious thoughts? You think about the future, the what if, right? And a lot of people that, like I said, a lot of people that I've talked to that are unfortunately going down the path of alcohol, drugs, and other addictions, which I'm sure we can talk about books later on. They all say
I don't read. I'm
hey,
sorry.
I could tell. I could tell. Well, hey, I got plenty of books that we can discuss throughout the
I
next couple
barely know
days.
how to speak, let alone read.
Read children's books. My kids are-
I need to see pictures,
You
illustration.
You also know how to rap, but we'll leave that for another episode.
We do need to get one of those.
Oh man,
Slim
that would
Shady.
be nice. We're gonna have to add you to the the background. El intocable, el sofocón. What is it?
El sofoque del bloque.
Oh man, you'll find out what we're talking about later
Yeah,
on.
soon enough. Soon
I'll have to
enough.
Google it just like probably half the people are getting to. 'Cause unlike them, I don't speak Spanish.
I'm ungoogleable. You cannot Google me. You will find if you
I
Google
will put
El
the link up
Intocable.
later. I will put the YouTube link later. I have it saved on my phone.
El Intocable, what you're gonna find is a Mexican wrestler. I
Oh, man.
might get sued.
The best part
Yeah.
And I'm not being racist about the Mexican part. He is Mexican.
is
You're
it?
gonna have to have a transcript or something like that for whenever you guys speak
No,
Spanish. It's gonna come up in a prompt on people's computers or phones or whatever they're watching on nowadays.
Look, I love my brother so much that I save the link on his contact. So anytime I have one of these moments,
I think
we
uh,
should definitely put it on. Hold on a second.
the-
I might give you a preview.
the
Hold on.
problem is the police department didn't like it too much. They said I was talking shit about police officers, but yet I'm a cop. You know.
Oh man, this is the preview
Oh.
of the song.
Ya, te digo. Dale, que te digo. Mucho flow, mucho
Wow, we have live.
I think this should be the intro.
That's a fucking classic.
Bro,
That's
Oh, there we go.
a fucking classic.
I like it. Here we go. Don't you worry. We'll put up the live link later on so you guys can catch a glimpse of what
That's
this guy
an
has.
underground, like deep underground classic. Like fucking deep.
Oh,
Like to the
man.
core
I love
of
it.
the earth deep.
Definitely
Love
needs to be, definitely needs to be the intro.
Where the magma flows.
Are people actually going to fucking listen to this? We've been recording for quite some time now. I don't know.
The first one, we were like, all right, let's just throw in a little session. We've got a solid 20 minutes in, but just like we said before, though, a lot of this is almost going to kind of be what it is. We're just going to be having conversations over conversations. We're hoping that the listeners can either join in, like they can sit while we're doing these, they can join in, they can send messages, or they could sit there in their backyard, hanging by the pool, the fire, driving to work or school, and just even sit there and think to themselves,
Yeah, like I
I've been in
said.
this position, or
Yeah.
I like what they're talking about, or hey, fuck these guys, they're idiots. Whatever you want to end up saying to yourself, you can say to us, but that's the whole key is you can have your own open conversation to yourself while listening to us as well. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I want again. It's send emails. Tell us your stories. We want to hear your stories, whatever it is, good, bad, ugly. We want to hear what you've been going through. We just want to share it with the world. And again, if you want to stay, remain anonymous, just remain anonymous. That's fine. But we want to know
What's the
because
name
we
of the
want to share it.
podcast?
It's another cop's mentality. And again, it doesn't just have to be about law enforcement officers. It doesn't have to be about first responders. This could be a nurse. This could be a janitor in a school. You could be whoever you want. You could be a freaking student. Just if you're struggling, you could be unemployed. Whatever it is, as long as you're not a Democrat. Now I'm playing. I'm playing.
I can already tell this podcast is gonna go.
I'm playing. You could be whatever you want in life. You could be whatever you
I
want in life.
recorded a little clip for you guys to
This
get on
is
the podcast.
you guys will get to know me, hopefully through the longevity of this podcast. And I'm a clown. I like to make fun. I like to make light of things. There's no malice behind it. Here goes our second guest, Mr. James. Welcome, Mr. James, to the
Mr. James.
podcast. Come on into the podcast.
Wow, I didn't even know we
So
got
this
a
is our,
guest today.
our second guest of the day,
Wow.
our first episode. And again,
brother?
we just want to know, we want to share stories. We just want people to know that they're not alone. And like Matias said, it's not that you're not alone, like physically alone. It's like you're not alone. You're not the only person that has that's going through it. Share your stories. We want to share it with you. We want to talk about it and just bring awareness to whatever it is that is happening in your life, good, bad, ugly. We want to hear it. We want to know it. Tell us about it. And again, I'm a clown, so don't feel bad when I just make a few jokes here and there. I will interrupt all the time. I'm giving you the disclaimer
Yeah,
because I'm that guy.
we are gonna have to figure out if we're gonna keep this thing rated PG something or
No PG. Fuck that.
It's gonna be.
Yeah, this is gonna be exactly.
I like
It's
it.
raw, ugly, just like we are. Yeah.
The whole purpose is life is raw, and what a lot of people go through is
There's
those
no
raw
filters.
thoughts, those raw things.
Yeah.
We're not trying to hide who we are as people, or again, even just the thoughts, the overwhelming issues, the feelings. Because when you start to hide any of those, then this podcast kind of loses.
If you start filtering
It's
things
real.
and watering it down, it's like, what are we really doing?
Right.
If we're talking about that we want to share stories, we don't want to water anything down. We don't want to filter anything. We want to be raw. And if what you're going through is real to you, we want it to be real to us as well. Because if it's real to you, it's real to somebody else as well. And we want to share it just like that. There's no PG, nothing. Fuck the PG. Whatever PG, whatever you
Perfect.
want to.
Hey, listen, we got a guest here. Do we want to let him say hello?
I think we should.
you wanna-
You're our first guest in the first podcast,
And I can tell you, he has stories. He got his own stories. Introduce yourself, sir.
How you doing? My name is James, and I got stories.
I love it.
James, what do you do for a living?
Now I'm the head of Suffolk County Consumer Affairs, but
There
Oh,
you
well,
go.
that sounds pretty
one of
important.
the worst criminals in Smithtown.
Is that right?
You see, that's what I'm talking about.
Is this true?
Yeah,
So one.
Oh man!
go and run my fingerprints. Yeah, it's true.
All right, listen, we're not doing any forensic prints. All right, I don't need any surprises, but
He did some hard times, guys. I'm telling you, it's redemption. You know, like he just said, he was not walking in the right path. At least he felt like he wasn't walking in the right path. He got locked up. He committed some crimes. He did his time. He's been clean for 34 years.
Which is
And
amazing.
it's-
I mean,
38
right,
years
that's
actually.
kind of a plus.
38 years actually clean.
thing for a lot.
So again, and now the head of consumer affairs for Suffolk County. This is amazing. You know, like there's always a second chance, and it's up to you to seize that moment, that opportunity.
Dude, I
you know,
gotta-
if you have one opportunity.
All right, I mean, listen, I got to tell you something.
Cops in the basement.
Love
That's how much.
Oh, man. Look, if it makes you feel any other way, Blandino's kind of a criminal himself, but we'll leave that for another day. Look, I will tell you this:
I've never been locked up, guys.
Hearing those stories, even like James, because you could have the opportunity to keep that to yourself, and to me, I think it's just extremely important for people right now who might be making the wrong decisions to hear somebody who's been there, who's done that, and what was that turnaround point? Like I said before, I was talking to this gentleman that came to my house today to do some maintenance work at the house.
That's right, the smooth criminal.
Hey, the smooth criminal, man. That guy, I'm telling you, I don't know what it was about him, but he walked in and just a lot of tattoos.
James wants to know if he was on license.
But,
Yes, he's about to go after him.
I couldn't even.
Off mic, give me his name.
Hey, that is
James,
that is not what that was about. I'll tell you this, James. This guy walked into the house, and I don't know what it was. Just like immediately, he gave me some incredible energy. And I started asking him questions, and I told him some personal stuff of somebody very close to me that's going through some hard times right now with drugs. And he's like, "Oh shit, man, 10 years, fucking hitting the drugs, 10 years for a long time, and in and out of jail, and this and
rookie
that and the other."
numbers.
What's that? Yeah, and
I
rookie
said
numbers.
rookie numbers.
And
Talk,
and I, and I'll tell
talk
you,
to him, James.
and I,
Rookie numbers.
and I'll tell you this, like think about it this way, as a person who has been through so much, and is now, in my eyes, just another human being, and as a Christian man, I got to tell you, you got to forgive. You got to forgive people. People do turn around. People do clean up. And the guy's working. He's at my house doing a job I can't do. So he's got a skill set that I don't have. And then the ability to open up to me just because I asked him a simple question. I didn't tell him I was a cop. He saw that I was in the military, and he just opened up. He's like, "Look, man, I got involved with drugs when I was a little young, and this is why, and I just couldn't get away from them. And you would do anything to get those drugs, and I would go into jail, and I would make new friends. So when I get out of jail, I got new connections, and I'm like, wow, and hearing that as a cop, like to me, like I don't give a shit about the cop part. He's a human being, that you can't take that away from somebody, like that's raw. That was their life. They're giving you a glimpse to the struggles that they went through. So, when I talk about my injury and my struggles, that's a completely different life. I got people thanking me all the damn time. Thank you for your service. Oh my God, can I get you something? Let me buy you this. Let me build you that.
Thank you for your service.
Hey,
I'll buy you lunch.
Thank you for your service.
I'll buy you lunch.
I'm serious though, because the people that have been through shit, like, and now are doing what James is doing, or people like that gentleman that came to my house, most people would look at them and go, fuck that. You're not coming to my house. You're not coming near my family. You're not getting a job. You'll always be broke. You'll always be a drug addict. And like to
James
me,
is doing pretty well for himself.
dude, every single person that has been in my life who's went down that road with drugs, alcohol, addiction of any kind, not just because we think of just drugs and alcohol, but there's addictions of so many other different things.
Pills. People got addicted.
I'm not.
Addicted
That's
to
what I'm saying.
pills.
I'm not saying
People got
drugs
addicted
in
to
general. I
anything.
mean that
Addicted to gambling. Like it doesn't
dude,
have to be like there's a lot of different. Yeah, there's a lot of different addictions.
anything. Addictive
There's addictive personalities. Correct. Yeah.
No, but like I said, you have people that you can talk to and you can learn from, and if it's anything I ever learned from my dad is, as a young child, he used to say, when you're a grown up, when you're an adult, you sit at the table, you shut your mouth and you listen. You don't say a word. And those are the people that are going to teach you wisdom and about life. And, we're young, man. I mean, I'm 35 years old. I got, God willing, a long way to go. But, look at Chris next to me. He looks like he's 45. He's only 33.
Damn.
And when I say he's 45, he's got this nice beard.
God damn.
He's got a nice beard, a nice smile. The guy is 6'6". I don't know. How tall are you?
6'5".
6'5". I'm sorry. I missed it by an inch.
What I could tell you about Chris is he's prone to injuries. That guy cannot sneeze. Because if he sneezes, it's like something goes.
Let's leave that for another topic.
The purpose, again, I can always say it a bunch of times, the purpose of the podcast
my mom is on.
is for everyone to be able to come in and voice whatever concerns they have and talk about issues and know that they may not be the only ones fighting whatever battle they're fighting, but to just talk about current events and just have a good time.
That's it. We want to hear it. Again, text, emails. If you want to remain anonymous, let us know. DMs. We want to hear it all. We want to hear your struggles. We want to hear your happy times. We want to hear how you cope. We want to hear what you do, whether it's drinking, jiu-jitsu, boxing, whatever it is that you do to cope with things. Again, you don't have to be a first responder. You could be just a regular Joe. We want to know. We want to know. Tell us about it. We want to talk about it.
That's awesome.
So from that, fellas,
follow us on our new Instagram. We might just skip out on the Facebook because I don't really like Facebook. We'll be going live.
Facebook is for old people.
Yeah, we'll be on the Instagram. We'll be on the live chat, and then we're gonna start posting all these podcasts. Man, thank you so much for joining us.
Another Cops Mentality is the Instagram name, the Instagram handle. Another Cops Mentality, and we're here to talk about it.